The Queensland Government Task Force includes seismologists, mines experts, insurance company representatives and public works officers. Their study of the quake will contribute not only to Australia's knowledge of the phenomena but also to international research. The cornerstone of the study is a public questionnaire already published in local newspapers and now available at police stations in the quake zone.
The importance of this questionnaire means that we can get a tremendous amount of post-earthquake data, something that will supplement the very few instrumental recordings we have for this earthquake. As we all know, there aren't many seismograph stations around Newcastle.
The police are assisting the task force. Already hundreds of quake victims have responded, sending completed forms to Newcastle Police Station. Their experience will form an extensive picture of how the earthquake travelled and what it did on the way. Equally important to the researchers is the response from people who didn't feel a thing.
Please, everyone and anyone, fill out one of these forms. The basic information we receive will be useful to seismologists, of course, but also to the engineers and the insurance community. I suppose in a sentence, we are trying to find out how the energy of the earthquake died away with distance from Newcastle.
For the first time in his 4 matches at Salamander, Ivan Lendl lost the toss and had first serve. The world number 1 wasted no time in making Charlie Steeb regret his decision. Steeb countered with a smash volley. Lendl continued with his racket abuse, but it nearly backfired. Steeb decided to go on the attack with some sharp attacking shots, stretching Lendl to his limit. The heat and humidity began to take its toll in the second set, buckling Lendl's knees, but the energetic Steeb surged through the pain barrier and claimed the set. Through the third set, Lendl realised the game could slip from his grasp, so he stepped up the pressure and broke Steeb's serve. Match point and Steeb gave the game away by clipping the net cord. The 2 players who have quickly become known as the entertainers, Christo van Rensburg and Mikhail Pernfors, met on centre court and didn't disappoint the large crowd. Time and again the 2 ran into the net to have a face-to-face drop shot duel. Pernfors led 5-3 in the first set but let van Rensburg come back to force the tie-break. Van Rensburg shifted into top gear, claiming first points in the tie-break and went on only to submit 2, winning the set 7-6. Van Rensburg continued to dominate in the second set, but Pernfors was not going to go down without a fight, delivering a lob shot into court. Pernfors kept slipping shots in under Van Rensburg's guard, slowing up the way to the title. At one stage, Van Rensburg thought he had the perfect answer to finish the match. Christo wrapped up the title and the match after Pernfors failed to clear the net. Christo winning 7-6, 6-2. After the game, Christo said he loved the area and the humour of the local crowd.
Brett McSweeney arrived home from holidays last week to find most of his unit had disappeared into a giant hole in the ground. It was an air shaft more than 5 metres wide and 35 metres deep. The mine subsidence board says that in the shock of the quake, the water table had crashed against the concrete cap which had been placed over the shaft. It had cracked and opened, causing an enormous vacuum that sucked down the floors, furniture, roof and garage door of the unit. Today, after the rubble was cleared, Subsidence Board teams were able to get their first real look at the shaft, and late this afternoon they began the painstaking task of filling in the hole with concrete. But with its size and makeup still a relative mystery, Chris Bennett of the Mine Subsidence Board admits the problem has to be tackled with extreme care.
We're pouring some concrete into the bottom of the hole to plug the bottom of the hole, and we've got to wait to see at this stage how much concrete's necessary to block that and block the workings. That's then got to dry and then be tested. From that stage then we'll do another concrete pour and actually fill the shaft. The water table levels down about 35 or 30 metres around there, so we're actually pumping concrete through water and we can't actually see the bottom. So it's a case of pouring this plug and making sure that it's right before we continue to fill the shaft.
If the concrete plug is a success, then pouring will begin to fill the rest of the hole at daylight tomorrow, at a cost of more than $70,000 using more than 1,000 cubic metres of cement. In the meantime, the board has announced it will cover the cost of Brett's losses and has embarked on a major investigation to ensure there are no repeats of that incident.
Forty-four people were treated at the polyclinic in Nelson Bay overnight, mainly for shock and hypothermia. Those on board were returning to Soldiers Point on the 12-metre pleasure cruiser after lunch at Morford's Oyster Barn restaurant. At 6:10 yesterday, 1.5 kilometres east of Snapper Island, the boat began to lean, then capsized, the rear end going under first. People were thrown into the water, but it's believed the 5 children were forced to the front of the boat by water pressure and were trapped inside the cabin. Their bodies were removed, but not until divers could open the skylight. Medics tried to resuscitate the children. They were 5-year-old Amanda Frost from Nelson Bay, 6-week-old Renee Tawa and her 2-year-old sister Stephanie from Sydney suburb North Curl, 7-year-old Candace Rutten and her 3-year-old brother Nathan, both from Salamander Bay. Shocked relatives arrived at the polyclinic centre in Nelson Bay.
Can you tell us how the family's been affected?
Mate, Spud's history, and Billy's just rang up his people in Sydney, and that's all, you know, at the moment. Christ, I don't know where I am.
Nelson Bay Police say a full investigation is to be held by the Maritime Services Board, which will decide if charges will be laid.
$210 bowlers from New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia and Queensland converged on the Tuggerah Club for the first round of the National RSL Men's Bowls Carnival. 6 teams of 4 from each state are competing for the Jack Hamilton VC and the Dr Sydney Krantz trophies named in honour of fallen comrades. Of the New South Wales team of 24 bowlers, 7 are from the Central Coast and Newcastle regions. Norm Fletcher from Guandolen bowled some absolute gems on the heavy greens, and Wal Fisher from East Cessnock was one of the day's better performers. Although the competition was originally designed to foster the spirit of the diggers, no one was backing off when it came to a close decision. And the umpires were kept busy throughout the day. Tomorrow, play moves on to the Sydney Metropolitan Greens.
35-year-old John Grennan was recovering at his Charlestown home today after a nasty tussle with a funnel web. 2 days ago, a planned bike ride turned to an emergency dash to hospital. This innocent pair of running shoes harboured a potentially deadly assailant.
And when I slipped them on, I thought the kids might have put a bit of glass in the joggers or something similar to that, and I felt a very severe, like a knife cutting my toe. So as I was pulling my foot out, it dawned on me, I realised that it must have been a spider.
2 tiny puncture marks testify to the spider's attack. John says his symptoms were mild initially, but when doctors removed a neighbour's hastily applied tourniquet, venom rushed through his system.
Couldn't breathe properly, my throat started constricting, I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I started vomiting and had pains up the back of my neck and throbbing headache pains in the temple, and generally felt pretty bad. So.
Both males and females are very aggressive and they will bite anything that goes nearby. And now when we have this wet weather, it's the sort of time that the spiders come out of the bush and into a nice cosy warm home to get a bit of shelter.
Dr Ian White, an expert on snake and spider bites, says the chances of survival are high if anti-venom is administered quickly. He says a few simple first aid procedures can delay the circulation of the venom.
One of the first things to do is not get the person who's bitten to walk around, move around, is to keep them still, and in particular keep the limb that's bitten still. Then you need to bandage it with a firm pressure bandage, a crepe bandage wrapped around the side of the bite and as far up the limb as possible.
Claim and counterclaim cloud the future of the North and York wings. One engineer says demolish, another says repair and rebuild. The conflicting advice prompted Premier Greiner to scrap a demolition order last week, less than 12 hours before work was to commence. Since then, there's been little ground gained in what's become a major post-quake battle.
It would appear that it's not the greatest and most attractive of buildings anyhow. Other people make these decisions, not just the Area Health Service, but our firm recommendation would be to proceed with demolition at the earliest possible time.
Dr Owen James says the York and North wings are a public hazard and beyond repair. He points out the York was condemned in 1982, with the earthquake compounding the deterioration. The opposition to demolition, he says, is based on misinformation.
Whenever emotions are involved, one of the first casualties is accuracy. And there's no more emotive topic, I think, than conservation and greenery.
Even if the building is repaired, Dr James says it has no further use as a healthcare facility. The plan instead is to contract work to private hospitals until the John Hunter Hospital is commissioned. But the federal member for Newcastle claims this will lead to long delays in services. He says the earthquake is being used as an excuse to save money in the health system.
Around 150 girls from all over the Hunter Valley and country New South Wales are under the strict guidance of the country's best coaches in hockey and also netball. Aims of the camps are to develop skill to allow participants to gain a greater understanding of their game, to develop sportsmanship and awareness of sporting ethics, to improve fitness and at the same time have some fun. Supported by local businesses, NIB, Ray Barts and Sizzlers, these camps are the start of an ambitious program set by the Hunter Academy of Sport. In hockey, Jeff Deering headed the camp, aided by Beth Garner, the New South Wales coaching director, Judy Lang, the New South Wales coach, and Robin Leggett, former national captain. For Leggett, who is also a board member of the HAS, this is what the academy is all about.
And I think the fact that there's a large number of girls and we've got some very talented players here as well, and they're getting top-class coaching from 5 of the top coaches in New South Wales. So, yeah, it's excellent. Couldn't have asked for more.
Margaret Corbett has just been appointed the Australian women's netball coach and will take the team to the Commonwealth Games in Auckland. She was very impressed with the high standard of participants as they went through some pretty strenuous routines designed to further their skills. Margaret was glowing in her praise for the attitude of the girls involved in the camp.
It's hard to work out here all day from 9 till 5 in the heat, but it's been good and they've really tried hard, and the last day they're still going.
Staff at Royal Newcastle played a key role on December 28, evacuating the whole hospital within a short time of the devastating earthquake. Just over 2 weeks later, many of the staff involved in that operation face an uncertain future. With the York and North Wings out of service, 140 beds are gone. It's expected 500 staff will follow. The upheaval has taken its toll on staff morale.
Well, very low. At the moment, very low.
Yes, I'm concerned about it. And therefore we're making sure we have good meetings with our staff, regular meetings with our staff, and our heads of department are understanding the problems that we have to go through and talk with them throughout this particular area.
Since the earthquake, regular general staff meetings have been held to bolster morale. Staff have been told there'll be no job losses, instead natural attrition and redeployment. Even so, there are concerns among staff. Many may lose the seniority they've established at the Royal. The Health and Research Employees Association says the government could ease post-quake anxiety by revealing its intentions on the staffing of the John Hunter Hospital.
Well, we'd like the government to give an undertaking when the new John Hunter Hospital comes online that the jobs out there will remain in the public sector.
None of us panicked. We got on doing what we know best. Being there when we were needed.
Today, staff were praised for their professionalism during the crisis. From now, it's an anxious wait to see where they'll take that professionalism.
The digger is so big it had to be broken down into sections to transport from Germany. Forklifts took 2 hours to unload the cargo off the roll-on roll-off vessel, the MV Talabot. The hydraulic excavator is designed to dig 10.5 metres deep, with an incredible 24 cubic metre bucket capacity. A 1,592 kilowatt diesel engine will power the machine. All that muscle means a lot of weight, 485 tonnes of it. These Caterpillar tracks alone weigh 82 tonnes each. The machine will soon be in use at Saxonvale Colliery at Mount Thorley.
Over 70 wheelchair athletes, including Paul Van Winkle from Belgium and Craig Blanchett of the United States, will race over the 10-kilometre course, and 18-year-old Glenn Saxon from Rankin Park will be amongst them. A Class 4 paraplegic who suffers from spina bifida, Glenn has set himself a target of 40 minutes to complete the course. Training today at the Newcastle Athletic Track with the help of his parents Bob and Christine, Glenn's main purpose of the task ahead is to be able to attract other disabled athletes to compete in a wide range of events. Already Glenn has represented the state at basketball and now wants to compete for his country. The course that is through Sydney Centennial Park shouldn't be too difficult for someone with this much dedication.
Fairly flat, I think. We've sort of only driven around it in the car sort of thing. We haven't really haven't been on it yet. We hope to get there though and have a good run.
At St Peter's Hall in Hamilton yesterday, 200 small business people met to consider options for earthquake relief. Government officials gave advice to shop owners who may well face bankruptcy. Also at the public meeting, real estate agent David Brooke, distributing what he called another option for businesses affected by the quake. The letter reads, "If you have land or a damaged building that you are not intending to restore, please contact me."
We did think that it could help some of them to give them another option, to think of another opportunity that they might otherwise not have thought of.
Mr Brooks says despite the quake, land around Hamilton is in great demand and sellers would be offered good market prices. Hamilton Chamber of Commerce President Jim Lees is advising retailers not to sell up in haste.
It's a competitive world. You should approach different people and get the best prices you can.
Meanwhile, demolition of the Carrington Chambers in Watt Street has come to a halt. Contractors Wathen stopped when it was thought historic convict cells had been uncovered. Work has been put on hold until experts can inspect the old sandstone walls. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The Moscow Torpedoes are one of the glamour teams of the USSR competition, and the game in Newcastle on Wednesday at 5:30 is the first of 6 they will play in Australia. Under the guidance of coach Ken Kaiser, the Northern team, minus their National League players, were put through a strenuous workout in humid conditions this morning. To join the locals will be Graham Jennings, Darren Stewart, Peter Murray and John Macquarie from Apia Leichhardt, Ralph Mayer from Blacktown, David Lowe, the Marconi star, and Marshall Soper from Parramatta. Kaiser is looking forward to having the live wire Lowe in the team.
When I first started with KB, Lowe was virtually a boy, and now he's going to be the old man of the team, and some of our youth will get some prestige playing with him. They'll enjoy it.
And the match itself should be a showpiece for attacking football.
Well, the thing about our match, different to the Australian match, ours is solely an entertainment. There'll be no shackles on the players. We'll be playing with 3 men up front, and we'll be taking the game to them. In terms of an exhibition match, a competitive exhibition match, I mean, I want to win, but I want to entertain people, and that's what our players will be doing.
Nice to be back on the International Sports Centre.
I love it. Yeah, it's terrific. Brings back old memories, and probably there'll be some ghosts in the dressing room when we walk in there, but it's terrific to be back there.
"115 boys will attend the soccer clinic, and more than 40 boys will receive the best hockey tuition from some of the state's leading coaches. Designed to improve skill levels, fitness, understanding of the game, awareness of ethics, and at the same time have some fun, the local sports academy is confident it is now on the right track in developing the sporting future of our area. Along with Trevor Smythe, Ken Kaiser and co, soccer will also have the services of Craig Johnson, Les Scheinflug and others to assist the program.
As well as Craig and Les Scheinflug, we'll also have Eric Worthington coming up, and we'll also have the new national coach Eddie Thompson coming up for a day, so the soccer boys will really get some big names talking to them.
Combining indoor sessions along with the outdoor practical exercises, it's a chance for all of the coaches and administrators to discover some hidden talent of the hunter.
We'll certainly find the talent, but we'll also be able to develop it. That's a very important part of these camps. We're getting kids at all levels of ability or talent, if you like, and we're developing that talent, which I think is an important job for us to do.
In tonight's NBN News, the Maritime Services Board has launched an inquiry into the sinking of a runabout on the weekend in Port Stephens, which claimed the life of a 44-year-old woman. For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Maggs was questioned by police from King's Cross last night after he travelled to Belmont to appear at the local court on an unrelated matter. Bail was sought by Maggs' counsel, but Magistrate Rob Stent refused the application on the grounds of the seriousness of the offence and in the interest of the public. It's alleged that on December 17, Maggs was at Sweetheart's Cafe on Darlinghurst Road when he became involved in an argument with John Pulatano. As the argument became more heated, he produced a knife and stabbed Pulatano 6 times in the chest and abdomen. The victim collapsed and later died at St Vincent's Hospital. Maggs' counsel said his client rejected the allegations. Maggs will be sent to Maitland Jail pending his transfer to Sydney to appear for mention at Sydney Central Court next Thursday.